It's another day, another draft here on Splash Play. Stream draft number 87 for me on the year. And of course, today we're going to hop into another Best Ball Mania draft with $1.5 million to first place. And the bag man, Nico Collins in the thumbnail, over 50 mil guaranteed for him on a Texans offense. We do expect to ascend this year to an even higher level. Let's talk about it here. Of course, I'm already in a draft room, picking the seventh spot here. Our guy Jeremy back in the room, Alex Keaton in the room. Jeremy, to his credit, has stayed out of rooms for a little bit here, so he's allowed, unless he starts fucking me. Then he's ejected immediately. I wish I had that power to be able to hit an eject button for certain people in their house, where they just suddenly spring out and fly through the ceiling. That's the hope and the dream here. But of course, it's a brand new day here on Splash Play. I'm slightly less sick than yesterday, so how could things go wrong? Let's find out. Very excited to get this draft going. I was actually answering some comments, getting back on some team reviews before the stream started. CeeDee Lamb at the 101. I am quietly surprised, and maybe with the fact that there are so many guys holding out, including CeeDee Lamb, including Justin Jefferson, including Jamar Chase. I'm surprised there hasn't been a CeeDee Lamb tax a little bit for the fact that he's holding out. People's enthusiasm remains sky high for CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb weirdly working with Keon Coleman on some routes in a video. I don't know when this could have happened because I thought Keon Coleman was in Buffalo right now, but apparently CeeDee Lamb working with Keon Coleman, which will not help CeeDee Lamb at all, but could help Keon Coleman quite a bit as a guy who's not a refined route runner, really not refined at anything. But either way, CeeDee Lamb still going to the 101 here. Christian McCaffrey, 102. If you get McCaffrey at the 102, how could you hate that? All right, we're on the clock here. Bijan, Breece Hall, two picks that I do not mind at this spot. Really no chance. I would like to get a Puka Nacua, Marvin Harrison Jr. stack going my way, but there's really no chance it's going to come back to me. Let's do Bijan here. Don't really know if I think I must have a little bit more Bijan exposure than I do Breece Hall exposure. I have a little more faith in the Atlanta offense getting where it needs to this year as opposed to a Jets offense that I really do think going to be very risk averse overall. A Jets offense as well with Breece Hall. Another running back coming in. Not that it matters, but Tariq Cohen adds to this Jets depth chart as well after they draft two rookies, after they also have Izzy Abanikanda with whatever he can do this year. Just to me, seems like if you're going to trust the workload for either of the backs here at the spot, I trust Bijan's workload a good amount more. So that's my tiebreaker. Obviously, the ADP agrees as well. My ranks agree as well. But in general, that is the one thing I would say is that I think that Bijan is, I don't know, I wouldn't say a tier ahead of Breece Hall, but I feel a little more comfortable taking him and expecting there to be that upside and the full workload being there. My current exposures, let's see. I've got Breece 3.2% of the time, and I've got Bijan 6.5% of the time, which is just two entries compared to one. But I have had more Bijan. I'll continue to have more Bijan, I would think, if I'm picking that 7th spot. Many GMs, our guy Updog, who's a top drafters finisher last year. Good to see him in the mix. I believe that was you, Updog, right? I believe so. Puka MHJ only available in the 10 or 11 spot. Yeah, that's the downside here. Did see MHJ fall in the room I had yesterday a little bit more than usual. Wouldn't be shocked with some of the FUD out there. I've seen guys like Sam Sherman tweeting the guy standing up at a thing. I don't know what that image is from. You guys know the meme post of the white guy standing up in the middle of a gathering going, and then it's tweet out your controversial take. Sam had tweeted out that, hey, Marvin Harrison Jr., even if he's the best rookie wide receiver ever, is not likely to pay off his ADP. I don't think that's the most likely. I mean, personally, I don't think that's the best way to look at it. We have seen rookies come in and put up 1,400 yards. Harrison's one of the best rookies ever. He's in a pretty open depth chart in terms of the target share. So I would say for Harrison Jr., anytime you get him falling, scoop him up. We have Bijan here. Oh my God. What do we do? Just go full RB piggy. Take Saquon as well. Probably not the move for me. Man, I do not love the spot. I think I'm low on Devontae Adams. You know what? Fuck it. Nico just signed a big deal. Let's reach for Nico. Let's do that. Nico got big paid. I'm honestly kind of surprised that he got as paid as he did at this point in his contract. For me with Nico, I kind of would want to see him do it another year with an alpha talent like Stephon Diggs alongside him, as well as, Tank Dell ascending year 1 to year 2. I'm kind of surprised he got paid the way he did. That said, I love Nico in terms of his role in this Houston offense. I like Steph Diggs more, but if I can get Steph Diggs cheaper, I'm going to do that. So Nico will be the pick here at pick 18. And really, to me, Devontae Adams, Nico, different offenses, really. Adams probably the better floor. Nico, I would say the more explosive ceiling, but there are probably more similar plays I'm giving credit for. Star Kindler in another room building this exact thing. Well, great minds think alike, Star Kindler. We know that. Don't draft Eagles. You hate doing that. I mean, I do it enough now that I'm not sure I hate it. Supposedly, Jets expect kick returners to touch the ball over 100 times this year due to the new kickoff rules. That's fine, but I don't think Tariq Cohen has any impact on that. Tariq Cohen, if you're putting him out for kick returns, given his injury history, it'd be like a tremendous waste. If you think he's got talent, which he doesn't seem like he does, he got cut from Carolina and never got anything going there after being hurt for 2 years. So I think it's bad signal. And that's really the big thing to me at this point. What you're seeing throughout OTAs, throughout minicamp, throughout all that stuff, it's really just about trying to read signal for stuff. So like when Eric Gray is getting pass down work, to me, the signal is like, hey, Tyrone Tracy, why are we drafting him? And I say we, the general we, I'm not drafting Tyrone Tracy, but you're looking for the signal there. I would say for in general, the Jets add 2 running backs in the draft class, 1 power back, 1 a shiftier back. They drafted a body conda last year. They're adding Tariq Cohen. All of this to me screams, hey, we don't want to give Breece Hall the pass game work he had last year. Now, of course, if you talk about that to anybody who loves Breece Hall, they're going to put their fingers in their ears and they're going to go, la, 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 la. Breece Hall got so much great production at the end of last year. And really, though, the production largely came because of that pass game work. And I think when you start to see the team signal that, hey, this is maybe going away a little bit, I think that's where it's up to you how you handle that. But if nothing else, to me, it makes it easy tiebreaker between Bijan and Breece Hall. So Cohen to Jets as a pass-catching specialist. Again, pass-catching specialist, which is what you want Breece Hall to be, and he is not. This room is bleeding out receiver pretty bad. Cooper Kupp at 26. I think that's just an egregious reach by King of QC here. Either way, though, does seem like a pretty tough one. And by the way, this is why I hate our guy Jeremy. And when he's in a room, he gets fucking Puka and Marvin Harrison. It just happens all the time for this fucker who had 75 drafts with me last year. So Jeremy, thumbs down again, even though you didn't actively hurt me. You took a team that I wanted, and that's just as bad, really. Especially because you don't pay for the fucking channel, Jeremy. Pay the fucking $5 if you're going to insist on being in drafts. I'll continue to say that until I die, which might be sooner than expected with how this flu is fucking ravaging me. Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson gets Dot Alex to start. Fun one for him, even no correlation there. DK Metcalf, boy, this is really... Taking Bijan, going to put me behind the 8-ball receiver a little bit, it seems. We did push Diggs all the way back, though, so maybe things are working out for me finally. Stephon Diggs, come on down. Kyron, big faller right now at pick 31. I did not bump Kyron down for his foot injury in my most recent ranks. Guess we kind of have to, but it's been very, very odd to me. Like, Kyron will fall here to fucking Jeremy, this cocksucker, at 34. Really the worst. Kyron falls here in this room. A lot of times, I think in every other stream draft I've done, I've still seen Kyron go 20 to 22. I really don't have a read on how the public feels about Kyron. Blake Corum is coming up, so that tells me that Kyron should fall, but he really doesn't. So I really don't know what that's doing for the most part. Saw Kyron go 39 at a Greyhound. Yeah, that's if he's going 39, like you should be scooping that up every time. Tank Dell goes 37, so we won't luck box him falling back. Oh, well. Get a lot of early mid-round Kyron when Achane goes. I would personally, Achane went 36 in this room. This room is really a perplexing one so far. Cooper Kupp at 26, Achane at 36, Kyron at 34. The good news is all the value will get scooped up before it comes back to me, which is always what we want to see in these rooms. In here with you, Spags. Best of luck. Loved Achane there, but the Avalanche is full go. You can deviate a little for sure, but deviating a lot, definitely going to offer up some risk. Again, you see my rankings on the screen here. Really would encourage you guys, if you are using the Spags rankings, which you do get if you hit the join button down below for $4.99 a month. You definitely should be mindful of what the real ADPs are, because I have guys like Lamar, AR, Stroud lumped together. That to me is the correct price for them. That said, obviously you have to be more price sensitive for some of this stuff. Okay. We have Stroud. Obviously we can wait on Stroud a little bit. Let's go by ADP. T. Higgins. Why is this ADP not moving? I don't get it. Pickens, not the biggest fan of. God, we need a receiver though. I'm doing my bullshit. I'm taking Terry McLaurin. Think Terry's the best price out of these guys. My ranks, I've mostly reflected that this entire time period since I've had ranks. Obviously, would like to get CJ Stroud back if that, and I think I should, based on logical assumption here, because the Tank Dell drafters over here, I have Nico and Steph Diggs. So the assumption would be that I can push CJ Stroud all the way back to here. If I don't, then we're just going to do Jaden, and I'll be happy with that as well. So that's my approach for this draft right now, as we did get into a wide receiver avalanche. And T. Higgins, once again, needs to fall. There's no logical reason why he has not fallen even a little bit in ADP. I've got him ranked at 50-ish. I think that's about where he should go, accounting for the risk that A, he's going to hold out to a certain point. He's got to get back in there at a certain point as well. But he's already, had reports going on out there clearly coming from his side that if he's injured during the year, he's not going to go. And those are things that a guy like T. Higgins, who last year with this contract hanging over his head, had the worst year he's had as a pro. Now we have another year where we know all this going in, and the markets are still putting him at 40. And it doesn't make sense to me. People like players, just because we like them or we like an offense, doesn't mean the player shouldn't suffer. Doesn't mean the player shouldn't be affected in terms of the market price. And for some reason, there's just price locked in for guys like T. Higgins. And I would say you're doing yourself a favor if you don't take him at 40, like seems to happen entirely too often now. How is a reach for Cup different than your reach for McLaurin? Number one, it wasn't really an avalanche at this point. He could have taken Neighbors, could have taken Metcalf. I guess Zay Flowers went 30. So he reached 10 spots ahead here. I'm also a very good drafter, and I'm not this person. So that's the other part. But it seems like you're biased because you're king of QC, but you reached for a guy who's old. You have a team full of wide receiver twos. Those are really the big issues here. You can do whatever the fuck you want, man, but don't get defensive about it. But for me, it's more like, oh, we're in a spot that's a flat tier. I'm going to take the guy that I trust. You reach 10 spots for a guy ahead of talent that's probably going to beat him out. For an injured player, by the way, who's getting older, has a history of soft tissue injury stuff. So that's it. But defend your team, I guess. I don't really care. You don't need to do it in chat. Defend it in your head. Guy at 1 got a crazy fall on Hurts. He did. And he got Devontae too. So he reached early for Devontae and then got Hurts late, which still a unique combo because you're not likely to get both parts of that. Okay, just came off a little defensive, bud. But I also, again, I'm not here to do your individual team reviews personally. All right, see what we do this next pick. Obviously, one pick would make a lot of sense here. Could also just take Joe Mixon, have some fun. All right, CJ Stroud. We'll do it. We got the double here. 1-1-3-0. CJ Stroud, Bijan Robinson, Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, and Terry McLaurin. So we have the Houston double here. We reached for Terry McLaurin. We have 3 receivers with a week 14 bye, which is going to go really well, I'm sure. But we'll persevere nonetheless. Kind of thing that I don't really worry about. Then you see it in practice, and it's not great to have your 3 highest draft capital receivers going there. Not tilted at all. More annoyed that Jeremy's in a room again and just lucks into the fucking dumbest shit when I've really would prefer Jeremy to never be in a room with me in a perfect world, especially because he doesn't pay for a membership. That's really the key thing here. If you're going to be a regular part of the streams, you're going to force yourself in every draft, click the join button for $4.99 a month. That's my suggestion. Keon Coleman goes 59 in this room. Prices are out the window in this room. Sure. Yeah. I mean, really, I don't know these people, and yet they're here. Is Daniels out of the question? Are you okay with a double bye week? I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. In a perfect world, probably would take a third QB if there's somebody that aligns late. Like if I have something with Carolina going, I could take Bryce Young. If I had something with Denver going, I'd take Bo Nix. I guess Bo Nix might be week 14 too. I forget about that. Nix is also week 14, so not Bo Nix. It just depends what I get late. Again, the big instructional thing for me in terms of my approach was a couple years ago, my BBM finalist did not have Trey Lance the entire year, had Joe Burrow. Everything else is nicely correlated. Everything else is correlated for week 17, including Cincinnati Buffalo that year. But yeah, that was one to me where it just didn't really hurt me very much to not have a second QB. Doesn't mean I don't want to have a second QB, but it does mean for bye week stuff, I'm just not going to sweat it that much if I can. Jaden Daniels would be a disaster. No, he wouldn't. Why would he be a disaster? Why would one of the best rushing QBs to ever come into the league, who's also one of the best passers to come into the league, ever be a bad part of a build? Because I'm going to lose points in week 14. I'm going to be so far ahead in week 14. If we're drafting like we're right, I'm going to be so far ahead in week 14 that not having QB points doesn't matter. But also I could take a third QB, especially because I did get a running back early. People were just panicking. Like, just cool hands, guys. Diamond hands, for the love of God. CJ Stroud, Bijan Robinson, Houston double. Nothing correlating here that we need to go out of our way to get. I'm going to go Brian Thomas here, reaching for him ahead of a couple guys. My ranks also would put Addison and Odunze ahead. Kind of think there's Brian Thomas steam coming, not because of the fact that he caught a wide open 40-yard bomb from Trevor Lawrence in camp, but because of the fact there's some pretty good signal. One thing I would look at for Brian Thomas too, if you're looking at, both coaching quotes, a lot of flowery talk from Press Taylor as well as Doug Peterson so far about Brian Thomas Jr. The second part is that Brian Thomas Jr., from what I know, that a lot of people don't from the advanced analytics that I swear by from Sports Info Solutions, Brian Thomas Jr., an elite red zone threat. He's getting a lot of work in the red zone in OTAs and minicamp so far. They know he's an elite red zone threat. They're treating him like it. To me, the thesis of what we've had for Jacksonville is coming true already, where, yeah, Kirk, Ingram are going to be the ones who are going to largely move that ball besides the occasional deep shot to Brian Thomas, who's not a great target earner. But if Brian Thomas earns that red zone role with guys who can't score touchdowns like Kirk, like Ingram, then to me, like, that's the spot where you need to target Brian Thomas because he's probably the big beneficiary here. And especially if you have just Travis Etienne getting less work, like Etienne was less explosive last year. Now, again, we have the signal. Once again, they're going to give him less work because they want to get Tank Bigsby in the mix. Tank Bigsby's not going to be a great red zone back. Like, I know his name is Tank, doesn't make him a great red zone back. So if we have a less efficient offense in the red zone, and Brian Thomas is really the only guy that can go up and get it, I think Brian Thomas to me is going to look like a really strong pick. And frankly, he came down a little bit. I don't know that he ever should have. To me, he and Rome Odunze, similar plays. We don't expect these guys to get tons of targets with the wide receivers around them, with the pass catchers around them. For Brian Thomas, though, I expect him to dominate the red zone in a way that I don't know that Rome Odunze will. So Brian Thomas, to me, might want to adjust the ranks. But if Chris Godwin's going 65, or I'm happy to take Brian Thomas 66. Like, I think Brian Thomas is straight up a better play. Red zone wool is fine. I know what we're talking about. Weighs 215 and rushed up there with Lamar, Kyler, and so is Creamy Sauce actually just down on Jaden Daniels? If you're down on Jaden Daniels, this is not the stream for you, man. And frankly, if you're down on Jaden Daniels, I'd encourage you to read things, learn about what matters in fantasy. But that's neither here nor there. But this comes from the first person in the world to plant a flag for Josh Allen in fantasy and got literally getting laughed off of DFS streams for it. Now here we are 4 years later, or it was, I guess, 5 years later. Jesus. Yeah, so that's, to me, the main thing. Guys who throw the ball downfield with a lot of aggressiveness, going to be the big thing. Guys who rush, going to be the other big part of that. And Jaden Daniels is the best pure passer coming in since CJ Stroud last year. But, those guys are pretty one-to-one in terms of actually they played in college. So if you're concerned about the build because of potentially having 2 week 14 bye QBs, I get that. If you're concerned about the build because you don't think Jaden Daniels is good, this is just not the show for you. I don't know. All right, pick coming up here. Okay, this is bad take. Really, objectively a bad take. The Heisman winner who had the best EPA metrics of anybody coming into the fucking pros is nothing get the fuck out of here. I can't deal with this part of take. It's only going to get worse as summer goes on, guys, but the biggest anathema to me is bad takes, and that's, I would say, one of the worst ones. All right, so we have potential correlation for Tennessee Jacksonville. Alvin Kamara is a little bit of a screaming discount at this point. I'm going to go with the correlation here. Kamara's okay. Kamara not in OTAs right now, so maybe something with him to watch out for. Dennis Allen doing his typical throwing guys under the bus coaching style, saying that Chris Olave needs to be better this year and that Kendrick Miller needs to show what he can do on a per play basis, needs to show that every play. So kind of coming hard for Kendrick. That said, Kamara, if Kamara's holding out or decides he's going to hold out, going to be one of the worst choices in the world for him, because they will find very quickly that Kendrick Miller is going to be a lateral move at worst for Alvin Kamara. And in fact, might be young Alvin Kamara. Probably not to the same extent, but in terms of what they're going to get out of him, like they can make Kendrick Miller into a very competent producer. So we'll see what happens with Kamara. But if I had to guess, that could be why he's coming down in this room, but who knows? Yeah, Daniels ran for over 150 yards against Bama, but yeah, he sucks. He's nothing special. Nothing special. Sure, the 70-yard plays that he broke, which he evaded 10 guys on. Yeah, no, it's nothing special. Just a dude. You and I could do that. We could just take the ice pack off of our back, walk into the field, and do what Jaden Daniels did. Come on, man. The league's a regular here too. Like I don't know what you're watching. Like, and if you are watching, maybe you're watching too much and your bias is coming through. But really, like, watch game film, watch all 22, watch anything of him. The one critique you'd say is he takes hits too hard, but like so does Jalen Hurts. And he's built a lot like Jalen Hurts. Probably isn't squatting 700 pounds, but he's built a lot more like Jalen Hurts than people seem to realize. No, it's just inaccurate. Like that, if that's true, then why did he not go behind Drake May? Why did he not go behind JJ McCarthy? Why did he not go behind Michael Penix? It's because he's an elite player who does two things really well. Again, just keep the receipts. Come back in season. Tell me how wrong you were in season, and I'll respect it a little bit more. We just went through this shit with AR last year, and I'll tell you what, AR was a lot more fucking accurate player. Or excuse me, AR is a lot less accurate player than Jaden Daniels was. Jaden Daniels is legit everything in one. If he doesn't get there, then I think it's injury, maybe coaching. All right, so we have... I mean, at this point, I'm just going to keep reaching for guys because I don't respect this room very much. So I'm going to take Jaden Daniels here. Don't think he was coming back to the next pick no matter what. And he's more important to me than anybody else. So Jaden Daniels, come on down. We have our Washington, Atlanta bet. We have Jacksonville, Tennessee. We have Houston with nothing from Baltimore. So just the pure Houston stack. Guess we're kind of making a bet right now that CJ Stroud just goes nuclear on Baltimore and they don't put up a fight in week 17. But we can also take Rashad Bateman, who's getting steamed up way more than I'm comfortable with. Take Rashad Bateman late, could take Tez Walker late. I guess we could take, the Rasheen Ali tier / the Justice Hill / the, yeah, that'd be basically the tier. I'd rather have Justin Herbert, who goes way later than Jaden 100 out. This is one of the worst takes. So you'd rather have a guy who in his career has had offensive coordinators who wanted him to run more, including last year with Kellen Moore, who had an offense the year before last that had Dak running the most of his career. They wanted Herbert to run more. He didn't. Maybe he'll run more this year, given that Greg Roman is going to force his QB to run, is going to design more runs. But you want a guy who is eschewed running in his career over a guy who actually runs really well and created two outlier receivers in college, like tremendous outliers, like how well Malik Neighbors did and how well Brian Thomas did last year is fucking insane. You're going to say that was all their talent. Jaden was just throwing up balls and those guys did everything. Like, think about it a little bit. Like, think through how football works. Guys don't have years like that unless the QB is tremendous. And that skill of making guys like Brian Thomas into a first-round pick, making Malik Neighbors have the best version of himself, is going to be the thing that happens in the pros. And you're talking about Justin Herbert, who's going into one of the worst offenses. Like, adjust for what reality is now, or you're going to fucking die this year in football. Like, that's it. And I'm not even trying to be mean to creamy sauce, but like, really, like, you need to adjust your fucking priors and like have a look at something that's not just your own brain. Like, that's it. But woof. You're really dumb, and I don't need you in the chat. Run a lap, come back, have a better attitude. Maybe come back smarter if you can. If you can maybe make your mom not fuck her cousin and you get some IQ back, that might help. There we go. Don't think, stay on that process. Really, like, of all the years to go caping for Justin Herbert, like, I don't drop many R words here, but like, let's be real. That's teetering. 2150 build here. We can scoop some discounts at running back now that we've solved our wide receiver issues for the most part, solved our QB issues for the most part. I'm going to do an old favorite here of James. Oh, should I do Connor here? Mostert, kind of the same play to me. I'm going to go Connor here. Mostert, I kind of grow more worried about as the season goes on, or as the offseason goes on, rather, just in terms of what they're saying about Achane. They want Achane to earn more snaps overall. For Mostert, he's doing some interviews with NFL Network. Seems like the way he's talking about a little more deferential in terms of like just what his role is going to be. And you do have Wright coming in. You do have some shot here that they can just take a few touches off of Mostert. Or let's say, the outcome that we're all hoping for. Let's say that HN gets you 60% of the workload. In my brain, it's 60-40. It's 60-40 HN, 40% Mostert. If it becomes 60-20-20 with Wright in the mix, that's going to really hurt Mostert. So in this particular room, I feel more comfort in James Conner. James Conner had a press conference yesterday talking about he's playing for his next contract. He expects to show out even more this year. We still have Trey Benson working with the first team a little bit as a pass catcher, which was my concern. If you have him as a pass catcher, it does hurt James Conner a little bit. But Conner's role as a goal line back in an ascendant offense, to me, that's the bet we're making here. There you go. King of QC was going to definitely take Daniel. So now I have peace. I mean, look, I wasn't worried about you, King of QC, but he's more important to me than anybody else in the room. And when that's the case, we're going to take our guy. But I appreciate you admitting that. Herbert had a window, but it seems to be closing now. His window now, like his hope, if you really want to buy in Herbert, your hope is going to be that he decides he finally wants to run and absorb some contact and they play poor man's Lamar with him. Like that's really your hope for Herbert because he's athletic enough that you could do that. Like he's not going to be as good as Lamar. He's not going to be as good as Josh Allen. He's not going to be as good as Jaden Daniels, despite what creamy sauce. Shocker that the guy with the jizz name is the one that's coming in with dumb shit takes. But I would say for that, like that's your hope for Herbert is that he does become Lamar. And I don't think it's a reasonable hope, but it's a hope. You walked into foolishness, Will. You walked into foolishness. That's unfair. That's unfair. The chat is usually sharp. It's just, when we have days, again, the circus isn't in town today. So all the views are coming here because they're just looking for a live draft. When we get everybody in here, like there's going to be bad takes. It's a law of averages is what I would say. Brian Robinson falls. You can see here, I've got a top 100 rank on him. He's got a 111 ADP. We'll take him slightly after ADP here. So a 2-3-5-0 here. We have Stroud, Jaden at QB. So 2 week 14 buys. May want to get a third QB in, even though I'm not going to die if we don't do it. Bijan Robinson, James Conner, Brian Robinson Jr. We got the 2B Robinsons, which I feel like has happened more in my drafts than I should be having it. Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Terry McLaurin, Brian Thomas, and DeAndre Hopkins. So we're live theoretically for another stack. We can make ourselves live for another stack if we are really worried about the week 14 thing. I'm not really worried about it, but I might cover my ass on it depending on the optionality. Can't have jizz takes when you have squirters and splash. It's true. It's true. There's enough bodily fluids in here. You can't have your jizzy name and also your jizzy name just giving the worst takes and then being like snarky about it. Like ultimately, my barometer for all the people who like tune in the stream, you're like, why is this guy so angry? Hey, I'm not really angry about stuff. I'm just making content, talking alone here for an hour every day, if not more. The second part of it is like, if you're going to have takes and you're going to have takes that are bad, I would say coming in with like the I know better take for somebody like me who's been doing the work every day here on stream, preparing, getting ahead of the curve since January. Like you're coming in with that stuff. And also like I obsess over numbers. I obsess over like team things and like the overall view of the picture. And that's one of my biggest strengths. And you're coming in here and you come in snarkily giving me dog shit takes. Like that's the secret recipe for just the instant thumbs down. But you really want to get behind the actor studio here. That's behind the actor studio. Like we all have to be humble to a certain amount about takes. That said, like what certain takes to me are borderline on binary, and thinking that Jaden Daniels doesn't have the traits to be great is just stupid. Like it's just really a bad take from somebody who doesn't know ball at all. Like, and that's the reality of it. But hey guys, If you are new to Underdog, and maybe based on the takes, maybe some of you guys are, please use promo code SPLASH on there for $250 in bonus cash right now. And many people are calling it boner cash. I'm not personally doing that, but I keep hearing on Twitter, oh, there's this $250 in boner cash you get an Underdog. People are saying that because they're turgid. They can't even, their heads are crushing because of the blood flow going to their nether regions. How excited they are to get up to $250 in bonus cash. So check it out for yourself on Underdog bonus cash, and also that one. I mean, I didn't give that take, but you're giving bad takes. You're back in here, creamy sauce, giving your bad takes. That's all we got. Gotta get a fern or two. Not a big plant guy in the house. DeLeague, if you think that was an ad read, if you think that was something that somebody put on paper and I read it out loud, I don't know what to tell you. I don't think we know how ad reads work. That was free form ad promo, not an ad read. Can you imagine if Underdog were actually giving out reads? Like, you got to talk about the boner cash. You got to talk about these guys getting so turgid they can't even, their heads can't even function anymore. Be a pretty big change in terms of promotion for old Underdog. All right. 2350. I think we're just playing the hits at this point. Could take Trevor Lawrence for the correlation with Brian Thomas Jr., but we will take Dalton Schultz, who, again, to me, remains undervalued. He should not be going this far behind Dallas Goedert, who is a worse play, I think, in every possible way. Dalton Schultz definitely loses some target share with Diggs being in the mix, loses some target share with Dell getting better and all of that. But ultimately, we're looking for touchdown equity at tight end. And for Dalton Schultz, like, you have the very high possibility of him having 2 touchdown days and also still giving you 40 to 50 yards in most games. But really, to him, like, they have to cover everybody else a lot more than they have to cover Dalton Schultz. And for a guy like CJ Stroud, that's what makes good QBs great. That's what'll make, I think, him a perfectly viable play. Triple stack. UD wants, no, they want to hear about boners, is specifically what Underdog says. But I can't read every comment, DeLeague. They're all flying by. I'm not going searching out of the way for your comments. I see whatever's on screen, and I make a snarky remark about it. really just have to let everybody behind the veil here today. Guys, you're watching, though. Again, nobody will defend the hill of good takes versus bad takes more than me. Please subscribe down below. And again, I come by this earnestly. When people give me things that run counter to things I believe, we look up data. We talk about it. We think through the game theory of it. When you come into these kind of things with just your stuff locked in and nobody challenging and nobody asking questions, you're going to end up fucking wrong a lot. And that's what the process is here on this show. Subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment. All of that matters a bunch, as we're on that march to 4K subs right now. And it's going to take forever because I'm going to keep scaring people off by yelling at them. But that's okay, because that's what the process is for me. It's the way I have fun on these streams. And if you are one of the people who thinks Justin Herbert is going to go off and have the best year of his career, please go to Drafters as well and draft alongside me on there. Use promo code SPLASH on there up to $100 in deposit match for yourself. And the best rake back you're going to find in the biz as well, with entries, free entries, 7 free entries if you put in 100 entries on there, $100 back if you put in 150. And it's full season, full point PPR, so check it out for yourself. No playoff pods to worry about, which is the big perk of Drafters. All right, 2-3-5-1 here. Lots of fun to be had, theoretically, at this spot. Sheikh Zula doing a 3-3-4-1 build for reasons unclear. All right, he takes Ford. I think we need the 6. I need to get more Jahan Dotson. So Dotson right now with Washington playing outside. Luke McCaffrey, the primary one, playing out of the slot. Do you think they'll move Dotson around a little bit? But I would like to get more Dotson. Trevor Lawrence would be a decent pick at this spot, but I worry I'm going to bury myself by allotting more QB capital at this point. So we're going to go Jahan Dotson. Build right now is a 2-3-6-1. We got CJ Stroud and Jane Daniels at QB, Bijan Robinson, James Conner, Brian Robinson Jr. at running back. Wide receiver, we've got Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Terry McLaurin, Brian Thomas Jr., DeAndre Hopkins, and Jahan Dotson. And at tight end, we've got Dalton Schultz. So one triple stack, maybe a second triple stack to come. We'll find out. Nothing else. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. If I believe in Jane Daniels being AR and CJ Stroud put together, triple stacks aren't going to scare me. So we're going to do that. GM to one, GM to all, GM to our guy Bindles. Bindles getting all the sweet guests, all crushing the views of the stream with Pete. So check out Bindles' channel. If you just want more Pete content, more Pete Overzet content, there's another way to get some of that in your life. Trevor Lawrence slide ends at 142. Nice discount for this guy. He has Christian Kirk, so good for him. It's a good pick. I would have liked to have taken Trevor Lawrence there, but I think Dotson does more for me, unfortunately. Hate taking Dotson, but when I don't and have Daniels, I feel bad too. I just need to be more agnostic. I have been falling back a lot more into the Luke McCaffrey part of it. And I think McCaffrey is okay for the bet we're making for him coming in off of draft capital. But again, he didn't crush it Rice. Like, I don't know that I want to make my biggest bet in the Washington receiver core, besides Terry McLaurin, I guess, to be the guy who couldn't crush it Rice. So to me, I just want to be open to Jahan Dotson a little more. We have seen upside. Last year for Dotson was one of the worst years you could possibly imagine, but I think that wasn't on him. I don't know. If you want to accuse me of one thing in terms of my biases, I would say the one thing is I probably give guys I like or offenses I like a little bit too much grace, where to me, like with what Sam Howell did with how bad he was and how that offense was run last year, I think everything kind of falls like to that, where it's just Howell is a great deep ball thrower. They didn't let him do that enough. They also put him in situations where they couldn't protect him at all. And he didn't know how to handle pressure. So the trickle down to that, to me, makes a guy like Dotson, we should just throw out his year. I don't know if you should ever throw out a guy's year because it's such a small sample size in football. And Dotson was objectively bad last year. But, you know, some good camp highlights. He's working outside. I think there are positive signs of movement for him, even though I think he's probably less talented than McLaurin. Take, I'll get more Dotson. Okay, good. I mean, I hope so. I think Dotson is just the guy that he was so bad last year, and at a certain point, you do have to maybe consider the alternative. Justin Herbert's here, and boy, how could Justin Herbert be here at 151, knowing that he's one of the best players in football? That's wild to see. But we have this 2-3-6-1 build. Let me go by ADP. Anybody I'm missing? Burton wouldn't correlate with much. I'm just going to lock up Sinnott. We'll do the, I guess it is technically a quadruple stack of Washington. So we add in Sinnott here, correlated with our QBs. We also now need a third tight end, theoretically, though losing tight end points in week 14, much less worrisome, if it is at all worrisome, for losing QB points in week 14. But Sinnott is on the team. We have a 2-3-6-2 build. Stroud and Jayden, both with week 14 buys. We'll see if we address that. Bijan Robinson, James Conner, Brian Robinson Jr. at running back. Need to shore that up a little bit more. Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Terry McLaurin, Brian Thomas Jr., DeAndre Hopkins, mini week 17 correlation there, and Jahan Dotson. Then a tight end, again, correlated with Schultz and Sinnott. Look, I like the team. Houston and Washington are two of my favorite bets to make on the year. I do like the bet on Bijan being the guy who, frankly, if I were concerned about Atlanta, I think you could be the most concerned about Drake London breaking out at his ADP, even Pitts having the outlier day at his ADP, the outlier year rather at his ADP. But, you know, that's really the main take. I have. Oh, that was a brutal sneeze. I'm glad I muted the mic. I hope I'm not covered in mucus right now, but that's the joys of a flu in May. Nothing better. Nothing better. Does Creamy like Dotson? No, probably not. Probably not. It is an aggressive chat this morning. I agree. Again, that's what happens. The circus leaves town. Nobody knows what to do. There's no Corain. There's no Siegel. They're not giving out their great takes with Pete, so they have to come here and just take it out on me. I think Ray Davis is the pick here, ADP-wise. You could see I do have Ray Davis, Kamani Vidal, and Bucky Irving in a similar tier. That said, I think Davis most live to have a role day one. Well, actually, that's not true. I think Bucky is most live to have a role, but the ADPs don't agree with me. So we're going to take Ray Davis first. We'll see what we get back. Spags is so good. He's willing to play 13 weeks against 14 for everybody else with all those buys. I mean, look, if you give up QB points, you give up tight end points, it's going to be pretty tough. I think at the very least, we're going to get a third tight end. But realistically, like if I draft, I don't know, Noah Fant, I do like, but let's say I draft Noah Fant as a third tight end. What are the chances that he really gives me enough points that matter? Like, let's say I'm down 20 in week 14. Is Noah Fant going to give me 20? Probably not. So that's sort of the way I view it. QB, you could make the case more like maybe you add on whoever onto this build, and then you take that QB, and that QB can give you 20 points and make the difference in week 14. I think that's a little more viable. For 2 tight ends, though, I just don't think tight ends having the same buy is going to be the thing that kills you. And as Mr. Mister pointed out, I'm going to be up so many points by week 13, it doesn't matter. I'll just be laughing my way to the bank with this team. I'll go, ha, 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 as Brian Thomas goes for 40 points, and my QB points don't matter. Fundamentally, though, that's the bet, I think, is just, yeah, wide receiver. We got a lot of week 14 buys. We're going to be up so many points. Doesn't matter. If that's a thing, though, that makes people not draft this team, I'll take the uniqueness for it. Jaleel McLaughlin going 168. Don't agree with it. And Darren Waller draft. If I'm going to take a tight end, it would be not be the guy who has at least a 50% chance of retiring. Buddy, if you're using the old name too, you're losing points by the minute here. This team slaps. You're gaining points by the minute, Matthew, of course. One of our longest standing members who I appreciate. No Kadarius Toney. That's true. We got to tell Jaden right away. Noah Fant at 171. Whew. This room really, and granted, I'm doing it too, but this room really just said ADPs. Let's just go off the vibes. Rashad Bateman up to the 170s. He got the contract. I don't think it's enough of a contract that he should be going up that high. Bucky will be the pick here. I think we're done at running back with those 5. Yeah, okay. I'm checking the bye weeks now. So we do have 3 guys out for week 14 at top of my receiver group. 1 down here. So we have to draft at least one more receiver, if not 2, that doesn't have a week 14 bye. So this is going to be a fun needle to thread that we'll figure out. But if this team isn't up 300 points by week 14, then I don't think this team is good at all. That's probably it. It's actually going to be funny, though, when this team is in first place the entire year just because I had no buys until week 14. And then week 14 hits and I'm like, boy, why did my team get 5 points? It's because, oh, yeah, everybody on the team is out week 14. Let alone if I have any injuries, God forbid. And we all know football injuries, they don't happen. Don't even have to worry about that. I would think that Jaden's total TDs will be higher. To be clear, I expect my advance rate to be around average because I do draft teams that are more designed to be spiking in the playoffs. But I would say in general, he's going to get more than 16 total TDs. So I would take the Jaden Daniels side of that bet. I don't play for 50% advance rates. I play for having teams that are going to have upside in the playoffs with players that I believe in spiking at the right times. That's always been my bet. You can make yours whatever you want to make it. Main 3 stacks in BBM have been Washington, Atlanta, AZ in Los Angeles, Minnesota, Green Bay. You like it all. You're getting a dome game for one of them. You're getting 2 teams that I think one of the better shots to be over a 50-point total. And Washington, Atlanta, 2 teams on the ascendance there. All right, we're going to take, everybody can stop panicking. We got a QB. We got Will Levis. Who needs anything more than Will Levis at this point? Of course, correlating with our bet here on DeAndre Hopkins. We got a week 17 bring back with Brian Thomas Jr. So that's basically it. 3rd QB in this build coming in round 16 for me, which feels about right. Give the team a read here. The team so far is a 3-5-6-2. Stroud and Jaden Daniels at QB along with Will Levis. At running back, Bijan Robinson, James Conner, Brian Robinson Jr., Ray Davis, and Bucky Irving. At wide receiver, we've got Nico, Stephon Diggs, Terry McLaurin, a lot of week 14 buys. Brian Thomas Jr., DeAndre Hopkins, and Jahan Dotson rounds out the week 14 buy boys. The sickest gang in the big is the week 14 buy boys. That's what we got in this team. And then Dalton Schultz, then Sinnott. All right. I was trying to think of a good joke about buy boys. I've got more buy boys than George Michael. I don't even know who's who's cleaning up with bisexual young men. You tell me. More buy boys than Michael Jackson when he was alive. I don't know. There's a joke in there somewhere. I hope that cannon is better on the field than in the bedroom. I think his dick was perfectly fine. There are leaked Will Levis sex tapes is what people are talking about here. I didn't know that his name was Cannon. I have not heard this for Will Levis. But yeah, Will Levis, his girlfriend Gia Duddy is I saw on Reddit. I don't know where all of you guys saw it necessarily, but some sex tapes out there of Will Levis. Good dick. I don't know. What do you want me to say? Probably shouldn't watch it. Creamy sauce, when you think like you do, you have to worry about that. when you get the game like I do, it's not a concern. But for you, honestly, you need like no buys. You need guys to play more weeks. You need to go petition Roger Goodell and ask them to give Justin Herbert 20 games this year, and maybe you'll get where you need to go. Pause. You can't. Oh, can we not say that his dick was perfectly fine? I think we can. I think we're adults here who can comment on the fact that some dicks are okay and some dicks are not. And Will Levis, okay, dick. And he's jacked. We already knew that. But he shot his mayo. He shot his mayo. He shot his creamy sauce. All right. We need not week 14 buys. Let's just get the fucking Tennessee double. I don't really care at this point. Tyler Boyd, come on down. You're my wide receiver 7. Chikakonkwo went, who I would have taken as my tight end 3, but instead we'll go to receiver, and I'll live without the points at tight end, I think. Tyler Boyd, going to be the starting slot for Tennessee. It's really the best thing going for him. Not the biggest Tyler Boyd fan, but he correlates, and he's going to be probably a little bit lower owned than he should be. Wife looks at me and was wondering what I'm listening to. Well, you know what? You and your wife could learn a lot by watching young Will Levis and Gia Duddy embrace each other, intertwined amongst each other. That's one of those, though, like, in general, in 2024, I have to point out, leak stuff, revenge porn things, very bad. Don't do that, illegal, all that stuff. Kind of one of those, though, where it's like, did she leak this to maybe get a little more clout, maybe get something going? Because it was framed in a way where, the best possible performance, I think, was given. But who knows? I don't want to speculate on things like that. You're an idiot. You're one of the most overconfident dummies who's been in a room in a while. But I admire your moxie, creamy sauce. I don't admire your username. I'd rather see Will Levis's creamy sauce in my face than you in my face personally. It's okay. She definitely leaked it. I don't want to speculate it. I know we're pushing the boundary here, but when you're not real famous and you got a way to maybe get some more going, that happens. Username should tell you everything you need to know. It's true. Once you start DK drafts, let me know. I'm not going to be doing DK drafts this year, I don't think. Just know there's no economic incentive for me for it. It gets less views, and also I enjoy it less, and also they don't pay me money. So probably just going to be underdog and drafters for me on stream this year, barring DraftKings recognizing that, hey, maybe we need to be on some stream things when the tournament doesn't fill. And it's like fucking half filled entering August. But we'll see. If I do any, it'll probably be off stream. Honestly, that does seem like a creamy sauce kind of play. Let's get George Pickens in the 30s like that guy yesterday. Let's go up and get our guy. Big run on tight end here late. Tyler Conklin at 202. Not the biggest Tyler Conklin fan, but do not think he should be going behind Jelani Woods. I will say that. You go away in those DK drafts. I do go crazy. Yeah. I mean, look, it was fun doing them last year. I did think every stream was more of a psychological experiment with the sniping and how it doesn't stream as well as Underdog and all that. But yeah, it's just like there's really no benefit to doing DraftKings drafts besides the small group of people that want me to do them. For drafters, I'll take less views because they pay money. That's sort of the thing. But yeah, for things like this, stream content, it's still business, guys. Try to give real things, real advice, real info, at the very least, the push-pull of the dynamic of things here. And I also tell you guys honestly, that's really it. Shout out to everybody else who wants to do DraftKings drafts on stream. I just don't know why you would. Yeah, look, I think DK drafts have a merit in terms of drafting them, but in terms of being a content creator, I don't think there's a lot of merit right now. All right, we have a 3-5-7-2 here. Did not get any Baltimore bringbacks. Keaton Mitchell really doesn't do much for us at this point. I mean, we need some points in week 14. Rondale Moore is a bringback for week 17. I'm going to go Rondale. I think that Odell should not go undrafted in a room. I don't get why he is. We are seeing Taj Washington, Malik Washington working with the first team, especially Taj. So that's not great for Odell because those guys bring a lot different dynamic than Odell does. But Odell got paid enough that I think he's still the Miami guy to take late normally. But we're not going to do it in this particular draft. So final team here is a 3-5-8-2. We have our 2 week 14 buys here. CJ Stroud and Jane Daniels. Will Levis will carry us through week 14 valiantly, bravely. Got Bijan Robinson, James Conner, Brian Robinson Jr., Ray Davis, and Bucky Irving. Maybe could take a 6th RB with this one, but I can live with it as it is. Having Bijan early, the bets Bijan makes our roster most weeks. Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, our Houston double, Terry McLaurin, Brian Thomas Jr., DeAndre Hopkins, Jahan Dotson, Tyler Boyd, and Rondale Moore at receiver. And a tight end. We're eating the points on week 14. Oh, no. Oh, no. But 2 week 14 buys at tight end will survive. Creamy sauce. Should definitely hammer QJ. I agree. There you go, guys. I would say that was a fun draft. I don't know if it was a fun stream, but we do the best we can here every day. And I do drafts Monday to Saturday now, every day at 11 a.m. East Coast time. That's the promise here on Splash Play. Make sure to subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment if you want, even if it's going to be some dumb shit about Justin Herbert. I'm happy to engage in the debate, but we all have to go into this knowing that we don't know really everything that's going to happen, but you go in with the best possible information, the best possible analysis, keeping up with the news, and understanding how teams work. That's going to be the process here on Splash Play, that if you're coming in with takes like that, you got to fucking align to 2024 and know what the deal is. That's what my value is. I'm not going to hear you and go, yeah, good take, man. I agree. I'm going to push back. That's what the game is here. So please, if you want that in your life, subscribe, hit the like button, do all that. Of course, promo code SPLASH on Underdog. Get up to $250 in bonus cash. You hear the ad read we did earlier about boner cash. You know what they love to push an Underdog. But check it out for yourself. The best deposit match out there in the biz. And then really the best rake back in the biz right now is at Drafter. So go check that out for yourself. Again, 17 weeks, no playoff pods, full point PPR. So a lot of things there that people bitch about on Underdog. You don't have to worry about those on Drafters. So check that out too. Again, promo code SPLASH. Get up to a $100 deposit match. Probably my baby. Probably.com/subscribe. Use promo code SPLASH on there to get half off the month or a year, and you will change your life. You will win more in sports betting, no matter if you just follow the best bet data, let alone using our Probably score data. You're going to make yourself better at betting. So check it out for yourself. Probably.com/subscribe with the promo code SPLASH. Thank you to all these fine folks. I think I should have to add our guy Jeff on here as well. All these fine folks have paid $4.99 a month by hitting the join button down below. You too should do that. We're very close now. We're close enough to 100 subs. It'd be really cool to hit that mark and then hit 1,000 and then hit 5,000. And then I'll fucking draft all day long. I'll draft DraftKings here in the nude if you want. If we get 5,000 paying subs. For right now, though, we got less than 100. So hit the join button down below. You get my Spags rankings, get a VIP Discord, and you also get, what's the third one? 10 team reviews a month from me. So if you want my feedback, if you want to hear me push back on your bullshit, then that's what you'll get from me. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. Game responsibly as well. And I'll be back tomorrow with more, guys. So, hey, here's for creamy sauce. Go ahead. That's the creamy sauce. That's the only creamy sauce I need is from Daffy Duck. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy your days. Good luck. Bye-bye.